Hello, this is Brian Rowe with Mythic MTG Tech number 12, where we're covering From the Vault Realms. Yesterday, the complete list of all the cards from the upcoming set From the Vault Realms was released, and I'm really excited to be here talking about this set today. I'm going to review every single card in the set. I'm going to talk about what's not in the set, what is in the set, and what wizards could do better next time when releasing one of these sets. The From the Vault Realms set is a single pack of cards. It's 15 cards inside of a box. All of those cards are foil, special shiny, excellent. 7 of those cards have new artwork, and they also give you a spin down die. Now this is a picture of the spin down from one of the earlier from the vaults. We don't know what this new spin down is going to look like, but honestly, I could really care less about the spin die. It's spin down. It's all about the card. Here's the complete spoiler list. Feel free to pause, take a second, look at what's out there before I go into it. Distribution is how you get things out to people, and the people should really come first. The distribution model that we're using here, I have no idea where they got it. It's maybe looking at The Godfather or some form of nepotism. It went to 4 different premier stores here in the Seattle area, and I've gotten abysmal responses from those stores about how to get a hold of this product as it's coming out. I've been attempting to get on wait lists and talk to people for several months now, ever since this product was talked about or released. Of those 4 different stores that I went to, only one would put me on a maybe list. None of them would guarantee me a price, even though the suggested retail price is $35. I have been quoted prices as high as $100 or $150 for this product coming out on the release day, and not one person has guaranteed, even if I was able to pay in advance, a copy at anywhere near even double the retail price. This is ridiculous. I think they should actually just go on and do the next one on Kickstarter. If you pre-order on Kickstarter and prepay, you're guaranteed a copy for 20% above that, and have some reward levels in there that if you get up to some of the higher reward levels, you do new art for all 15 instead of just 7 of them. Something to that effect. Get the community involved in the process and guarantee people a copy if they're willing to contribute. Now, one of the things that has really annoyed me about this particular set is what is missing from this set. What is missing is actually bigger than what is in the set. Now, the original dual lands, which is the gold standard for lands, I understand completely that they are not going to be in the set. I do think that Wizards made a mistake with the reprint policy of not allowing those to ever be reprinted, and they're getting very difficult to find, which makes Legacy almost unplayable for individuals who did not get the dual lands early or don't pick them up right now. Outside of the dual lands, I did have some other, at least guesses, if not expectations, of what might be in this set. Let me go through some of those. The lands that are possibly even better than the dual lands are the fetch lands, the Onslaught fetch lands and the Zendikar fetch lands. These are amazing, especially with the existence of the shock lands in play. They color correct very well. They have a minor drawback to them. They thin your deck. Everyone that I know that plays EDH uses these lands. Everyone that I know that plays Legacy uses these lands. Everyone uses these lands in Modern. These are staples, and to not have a single one of them in the set is very surprising. The next thing that's missing, though, is the shock lands. These are not on the reserve list. They are functionally the same as the original dual lands, except that having them come into play untapped happens to cost you 2 life. So they do have a pretty significant downside. They are a staple in the Modern environment, and lots of EDH players use them. I would have loved to have seen one of these included in the set, preferably a Watery Grave or a Hallowed Fountain, because those are extremely overpriced currently. Next thing where I think they really missed a great opportunity here was to put in a full art basic land. Full art lands are loved by players across the board. The full art unglued, which you see a beautiful swamp of right here, probably one runs $20 or $30. The full art Zendikars run $1 or $2 a piece for just the basic lands, and up to $20 a piece for the foil versions. Collectors would have been really happy to see one of those, and players would have even been ecstatic. I actually would have loved to have seen a full art version of one of the other lands. The Muda Vault that we see here goes for several $100s. Is a beautiful card and has gone over really well. The biggest letdown to the rest of the community, though, is the lack of cards that are playable in Legacy. Both Wastelands and Caracas have skyrocketed over about the last 2 years. They are staples in the Legacy environment. In the case of Wastelands, they're even more common than the dual lands are, and they go in any color deck, and lots of people use them. They're a good balance to the dual lands. The availability of Wasteland allows people to punish people for using the dual lands in Legacy, and Caracas is just essential with the current environment, with Gristlebrand as a dominating, powerful deck. I would have liked to have really seen at least one of these two Legacy staples. Let's move on, though, and actually look at the cards that are in here. And I'm going to start with the ones that I'm least excited about and move on so I can end on a positive note with the most excited. I knew there would at least be one card in the set that I didn't like. Desert is clearly that card for me in this set. Very disappointed with this particular card. The next card that's in here is Shivin Gorge. Now, I loved this cycle of lands when they came out in Urza's. I was playing in Urza's for a little while. Gaia's Cradle is amazing. Clarion Academy was broken, way too powerful. But most of these lands are on the reserve list, and the one that they decided to reprint from the cycle of lands is by far the worst one in the set. I love the new artwork. It's great to see new artwork on it, but the card's basically unplayable in pretty much every format. Glacial Chasm, new artwork, it's beautiful, not a playable card in competitive formats, although this is a decent EDH card. And as we see in this set is really focused on EDH players. Many of these cards are playable in EDH. Next card that we've got here is Murmuring Bosk. This is the first 3-color basic land. It's a pain land. Everybody hates pain lands, but it does have some flavor to it. I personally don't like this card. I know 1 or 2 people that are a little bit excited about this card. I would rather have seen one of the more traditional dual lands in here, or shock lands. Forbidden Orchard is one of the more interesting EDH playable multicolored lands that are out there. I personally would have rather seen Gemstone Mine or City of Brass, one of those staple cards that also sees some competitive play, although this card has seen some competitive play in Vintage, pretty much dead format, where Oath of Druids is still legal. I like the card. The new artwork is a little bit on the dark side. I kind of like the original artwork better, but it's good artwork, and I'm glad to see new artwork on these cards. Starting to get into a little bit better cards here. This is a playable card in Legacy, in Dredge particularly. It's actually one of the staple cards in Dredge. It is also very, very playable in EDH, where the damage doesn't matter that much, and you get to Threshold, you can use this. It's another clear nod towards EDH players. I like the new artwork. This is moving in the right direction. High Market is another great EDH card. I see it in a lot of different decks. I'm glad to see it back. This is a solid card, although not particularly high value in any way. Windbrisk Heights is a nice card in Modern that has seen a lot of play recently, and it's also a solid card in EDH. I really like the Hideaway cards in EDH. This is another clear nod towards EDH cards. Also really love this mechanic. Good card to see reprinted. Boshiju Who Shelters All is a beautiful EDH card. It's great for anti-counter spells. I love playing this card. Several other people have been pretty down on this card, but this is actually one of the ones that I like more. The next one here that we're going over, though, is Grove of the Burn Willows. Now, this is a dual land. It hits 2 different colors. It has a drawback to it, though, which is give your opponent a life, which means that in most competitive formats, it's currently not playable. It was playable in the modern format as long as Punishing Fire was there, but this combination of Grove of the Burn Willows and Punishing Fire was so strong that it was banned in the modern format. It's barely playable in Legacy, but very, very playable in EDH. And this is a theme all the way throughout this set, is that there's a focus on EDH cards and on EDH playability of these cards. Vesuvius is another great card for EDH. The ability to copy one of your lands is wonderful in a singleton format. This was also really playable in Cloudpost with Cloudpost in Modern for a while, although it was so playable that it ended up getting banned. And I think this is a reoccurring theme. We've got 2 different, very solid cards that people would be extremely happy about right now in these 2 cards if they hadn't been banned. My guess is that with this set, they chose the cards before realizing which of those cards that had just skyrocketed were about to be banned, and now by the time the set comes out, these have been cut down to about half their high price, so they're no longer chase cards. There may have been an intent to give us some better cards than what they ended up with, but the bannings really hurt this set. Dryad Arbor is another one that I really love. I use this card a lot in both EDH and in Legacy. Very glad to see it. I kind of like the design choice here, although personally I like the frame of the older Dryad Arbor. That time spiral frame is really beautiful. In this card, though, it's very subtle. It has a more of a ninja stealth aspect to it, and I like what they've done with this, which is try to do something original on the design side. Cut out all of that text. This would have been a perfect target for a full art. Also, I would have loved to have seen a full art version of this. The last 3 cards that I'm looking at are very solid cards. They're playable in Modern. They're kind of in that chase category. Lots of people are actually happy to see these. This is one that gets a lot of play in EDH. I love seeing the support for the EDH cards here. Very solid card. Very happy to see this reprinted. Ancient Tomb is another one that people are pretty divided over, although I love it. It sees a lot of play in Legacy, although unfortunately in the most degraded combo decks, mostly, although stacks will also play this some. This card is very good in EDH. The 2 damage is negligible, but the mana acceleration is extremely important. It's definitely popular with a lot of people. Last card here is the only card that I'm extremely excited about. Seeing Maze of Ith reprinted is wonderful. Maze of Ith has been reprinted once as a Judge's Foil, and that Judge's Foil, which happens to be my favorite of the 3 artwork, is extremely valuable at this point, probably $100–150 at the time that I'm putting this video together. But this is a staple card in EDH. It also sees a little bit of play in Legacy. It's not an incredible card in Legacy, such as Wasteland is, or Caracas. It's not a staple card, but it is a little bit of a difficult, slightly overpriced card to get a hold of in Legacy. But this is a clear nod that their focus here was on giving things to EDH players in this set, and that they weren't that concerned with bringing down the price of staples in either Modern or in Legacy. So my final rating on this is 3.5 out of 5. They could have picked up another 0.5 here by putting in one solid Legacy card or a solid Modern card as a reprint so that people could make those formats a little bit more accessible. But where they're really losing points on this is the lousy distribution. Next time, add in a little bit more for your Legacy and Modern players. Come up with something a little bit more creative than a spin down, and also make this a little bit higher print run. I hate having to run around to stores, beg and scrap to attempt to get on a list for several months to pick up a single copy of these cards. This has been Brian Rowe with Mythic MTG Tech. with a full review of From the Vault Realms. You can connect with me here on YouTube or via Twitter at Sartoris.